Have you ever looked at a leader and thought, how did this fool get so much power? You're not alone. Today, we unravel a disturbing truth. The world does not reward wisdom, it rewards audacity. Illusion and manipulation. Machiavelli saw it centuries ago, and what he discovered still rules us today. Let's begin. The wise man hesitates. He weighs the consequences, considers the morality, and reflects upon the cost of every action. He ponders whether the means are justifiable, whether the timing is appropriate, whether the people are ready. His thoughts are precise, his understanding is deep, but his steps slow. Deliberation becomes his prison. Yet the fool knows no such chains. He acts boldly, blindly. He strikes first and thinks later. And in a world that rewards appearance over substance, such reckless boldness is often mistaken for strength. The crowd does not ask, is he wise? They ask, is he confident? They do not ask, has he considered all outcomes? They ask, does he look like a leader? And so the stage is set not for the man of intellect, but for the man of action. The wise man remains in the shadows of his own caution, while the fool steps into the spotlight of audacity. The fool, by nature, is not burdened by complexity. He sees a straight path and runs, and because he runs quickly, people assume he knows the way. But in truth, he is simply faster than the one who paused to read the map. In the pursuit of power, it is not the most qualified who advances. It is the one who moves when others are still thinking. In times of uncertainty, people do not follow the most informed, they follow the most decisive. Fear clouds judgment, and in that fog, boldness becomes the torch. Even if it leads them off a cliff, they prefer the man who moves decisively over the one who says, "Let us be cautious." And so the fool becomes their shepherd, leading them nowhere, but with great confidence. Machiavelli observed this pattern among princes, popes, and generals. Those who climbed to power were rarely the wisest in their courts. They were those willing to seize the opportunity, while others questioned whether it was the right thing to do. A wise man considers the laws. The fool breaks them and apologizes later, if he must. Often, he does not even apologize. And the world, oddly, respects that. Strength, even when misplaced, attracts admiration. It is not because the masses are stupid. It is because they are tired of waiting, tired of uncertainty, tired of being ruled by men who speak in riddles and theories. They want action, they want results, and the fool, unburdened by reflection, provides both, at least in appearance. His decisions may be disastrous, but they are immediate, and immediacy seduces more hearts than accuracy ever will. The wise man doubts himself. He knows what he does not know, and this very awareness breeds humility, even hesitation. He asks questions, seeks counsel, anticipates the future. But to the crowd, this looks like weakness. They do not see the wisdom in restraint. They only see a man who cannot act. Meanwhile, the fool charges forward, wrong perhaps, but with glorious momentum. And momentum is power. The bold fool wears the cloak of certainty, and certainty, whether real or performed, has a strange effect on people. It silences critics, it gathers allies, it intimidates enemies. In the performance of leadership, the illusion of strength is often more useful than actual understanding. The political arena is not governed by fairness, nor by rationality. It is a battlefield of perceptions. And the fool, unconcerned with truth, can shape those perceptions with alarming ease. He can shout louder. He can act faster. He can dominate the room before the wise man has finished his sentence. It is not that the fool is superior. It is that his recklessness is mistaken for decisiveness. The wise man, aware of nuance, tries to balance justice and strategy. The fool ignores both, and in doing so, he often gets what he wants. He does not ask, "Should I take power?" He says, "I deserve it." He does not reflect upon the responsibilities of rule. He simply desires the crown, and so he takes it. And those around him, exhausted, impressed, or simply deceived, follow. Because in the theater of power, it is not the philosopher who commands the stage. It is the actor who plays his role most convincingly. And often, that actor is a fool wrapped in the robes of a king. The truth is rarely beautiful and almost never simple. It is tangled, contradictory, and requires time to unravel. The wise man knows this. He speaks carefully because he understands that truth is not easily swallowed by the common ear. But the masses, they do not hunger for complexity. They crave clarity. They are not seekers of truth, but of comfort. And comfort comes not from the accurate, but from the familiar and the bold. The man who speaks in riddles, who offers truths that demand thought and self-reflection, will be ignored. His words may be true, but they are heavy, and people in their daily struggle do not wish to carry another weight. They want answers that fit in their palm, not truths that require the construction of an entirely new frame of thinking. And here the fool finds his advantage. He does not speak truth, he speaks convenience. His words are short, loud, and final. He speaks in absolutes. He makes no room for doubt invites inquiry, and inquiry threatens his illusion of control. So he drowns uncertainty beneath a sea of slogans and gestures, knowing well that people will follow whoever gives them the simplest explanation, not the truest one. The wise man may say, "This is a complicated problem, and I must study it further." The fool says, "I know exactly what's wrong, and I alone can fix it." And the masses cheer not because they believe him, but because he spares them the burden of thinking. Machiavelli observed this manipulation with precision. He wrote of how appearances are far more powerful than substance, that people judge by what they see, not what is. They prefer the shadow, if it moves confidently, to the flame that flickers in uncertainty. They follow the voice that assures, not the one that explains. Truth requires effort. It demands that one abandon long-held beliefs, that one challenges the very structure of their comfort. Most will not do this. Most would rather be lied to simply than educated painfully. And the fool knows this. He shapes his language accordingly. He reduces the world into two sides, thus versus them, good versus evil, simple problems with easy solutions. His narrative is tight, elegant, and false, but it is irresistible. The wise man, on the other hand, speaks with complexity. He warns of consequences. He introduces moral dilemmas. He challenges the assumptions of the very people he addresses. But in doing so, he alienates them, for he is not telling them what they want to hear. He is telling them what they must hear. And the difference in the eyes of the public is fatal. The fool smiles. He says what the people already believe, or what they wish were true. He becomes a mirror, not a mentor, and because of this, he is loved, not because he is right, but because he is easy. People do not want to be led into the dark corridors of truth. They want to be told they are already in the light. They want validation, not education. The fool offers it freely. He feeds them comforting delusions and calls them facts. He simplifies the world into shapes they recognize, and they applaud because finally someone speaks their language. But the language of the crowd is not one of wisdom. It is one of desire. Their ears are not trained to hear warnings. They are trained to respond to praise and panic. The fool speaks both fluently. The wise man speaks reason and is met with silence. In republics, courts, and kingdoms alike, this pattern repeats. The crowd chooses not the most intelligent, but the most entertaining. The one who speaks like them, looks like them, who gives them the illusion of control while taking it from them with every gesture. The fool does not teach the people, he flatters them. He does not challenge their beliefs, he echoes them. And for this, they raise him upon their shoulders and call him their leader. To explain the truth is to struggle against the tide. But to offer a simple lie is to float with it, arms raised like a savior. The fool understands that power belongs not to those who are right, but to those who are believed. And belief, tragically, favors simplicity. In every court, every government, every structured institution built to preserve order and control chaos, there exists a silent preference, one so subtle it escapes the notice of the naive, yet so powerful it shapes the fate of empires. That preference is not for brilliance. It is not for courage. It is not even for results. It is for obedience, for loyalty, for silence when it is easier to question. Institutions, by their very nature, do not seek to elevate the most intelligent. They elevate the most manageable. The wise man is dangerous, not because he plots or schemes, but because he sees. He observes contradictions. He notices inefficiencies. He spots corruption. He asks questions. And questions are the enemy of those in charge. The wise man may perform better than others, but he also threatens the hierarchy simply by understanding it too well. His insight makes others uncomfortable. His presence is a reminder that incompetence surrounds him. And those who lead these institutions, often fools cloaked in titles, prefer the comfortable lie to the inconvenient truth. Now consider the fool. He does not question, for he lacks the depth to question. He does not challenge, because he has no vision of anything beyond the narrow hallway he's placed in. He smiles when told to smile, nods when expected to nod. He does as he is ordered, no more and no less. And that, in the eyes of a fragile system, is seen as loyalty. His incompetence is not a threat, it is a reassurance. He will never surpass his superiors because he cannot. He is predictable, and predictability is treasured more than brilliance. In any organization, it is not the one who innovates who rises, it is the one who pleases. Promotions are not rewards for intelligence, but for conformity. The best question is not who is most capable, but who is least likely to disrupt. The ambitious thinker is held at arm's length. The agreeable fool is embraced and lifted upward. The courtier who flatters the prince rises faster than the advisor who tells him the truth. The minister who avoids challenging the king lasts longer than the one who dares to correct him. In republics, too, this plays out. Senators, bureaucrats, and commanders who toe the line are retained. Those who rock the boat, even for noble reasons, are thrown overboard. Intelligence is useful only when it bends to the structure. When it begins to stand on its own, it becomes a liability. Machiavelli saw this in the Medici court, in the Vatican, in the failed republics of his time. The wisest men he knew were often those left in exile, in chains, or in obscurity. Meanwhile, the loyal imbecile sat in comfort, reaping rewards not for thinking, but for obeying. Institutions, like organisms, seek self-preservation. And in preserving themselves, they reject those who might improve them, because improvement requires change, and change brings risk. The fool offers no risk. He reinforces what is. He strengthens the walls by never asking what lies beyond them. He repeats the language of the powerful, never adding to it. And thus he is seen as a good servant, a trusted ally, a safe appointment. And because he never threatens the system lifts him up, not despite his foolishness, but because of it. The wise are often forced into roles below their capacity. Their minds are used, but never acknowledged. Their warnings are heard, but never acted upon. They are praised in words, but punished in position. Meanwhile, the fool ascends, his loyalty is confused with virtue, his silence was mistaken for wisdom, and his ignorance, unnoticed, becomes invisible beneath the costume of authority. A prince who values order more than truth will always prefer the man who obeys to the man who thinks. And so too will any institution that prizes stability above reform. Intelligence is subversive. It destabilizes. It is threatening, but loyalty. It preserves the illusion of peace, even if that peace is nothing more than stagnation painted gold. And so, the fool becomes a minister, a senator, a bishop, a general. He does not understand strategy, but he understands command. He does not inspire, but he obeys. He rises because the system trusts him to do nothing unexpected. And nothing is more prized by those who fear collapse than predictability, even if it comes in the form of a smiling fool. A fool in power is not always what he seems. Do not be deceived by vacant eyes or clumsy speech. Do not assume that because a man is ignorant, he is harmless. There is a peculiar kind of survival hidden in ignorance, a survival made possible by the art of cunning. And that art, when wielded well, can make even the most intellectually barren man appear like a statesman. Cunning is not the same as wisdom. It is not deep, but it is sharp. It is not virtuous, but it is effective. The cunning man does not know much, but he knows what matters to stay alive and remain on top. He learns to pretend. He learns to speak the words he doesn't understand with confidence. He surrounds himself with the knowledgeable, not to learn from them, but to use their expertise as armor for his own deficiencies. And most of all, he learns to perform. He learns how to look like a leader without being one. The true fool is not always the loud one, nor the obvious one. He may sit quietly, smile warmly, and appear disarmingly humble. He lets others speak first so he can mirror their intelligence. He repeats the last words of his advisors with a tone of conviction, and those around him, unaware of the emptiness behind the mask, nod with approval. They do not see the ignorance, only the illusion, and in power, illusion is often more powerful than substance. Machiavelli understood this delicate dance between foolishness and cunning. He wrote that it is better to appear virtuous than to be virtuous. So too, it is better in politics to appear intelligent than to actually be so. The real craft lies in managing perception, not truth. For truth can be debated, but appearance, when polished properly, becomes untouchable. The cunning fool avoids deep conversations. He changes the subject, he throws in humor, he distracts with grand gestures. He uses charisma to blur the lines between intellect and performance. He speaks in broad, vague terms, never too detailed, never too precise. And this ambiguity becomes his protection. For if you cannot pin down what he means, you cannot prove that he knows nothing. He does not lead by ideas, he leads by manipulation. He knows how to read the room, he knows what the people want to hear, and he says it, not because he believes in it, but because he understands its power. He uses slogans in place of strategy. He uses loyalty as a substitute for leadership. And the masses, long trained to admire confidence over competence, lift him to power with applause. And when his ignorance becomes too visible to hide, he shifts blame. That is one of the oldest tricks in the book. The fool does not admit error, he finds a scapegoat. The advisor who gave him the wrong counsel, the previous ruler who left things broken, the enemy who sabotaged him, anyone but himself. This tactic does not require intelligence, it requires instinct. The cunning fool knows that blame is a tool. and he uses it with precision. Surrounded by smarter men, he becomes the collector of their ideas. He does not think, he delegates thinking. He gathers the minds he lacks and positions them around him like a crown. And while they work, he basks in the light of their accomplishments. Their wisdom becomes his reputation. He does not need to be competent, he only needs to appear central. Appear strong, appear irreplaceable. Such a man does not fear ignorance, he has tamed it. He wears it like a hidden dagger, unseen but ready. And those who expect stupidity to be a weakness are caught off guard when it becomes a shield. He knows how to confuse his critics, how to bait his rivals into underestimating him. He plays dumb when it suits him and plays sharp when it profits him. The mind may be dull, but the instincts are razor sharp. In every hall of power, there is at least one such figure, a man of limited depth but limitless survival. He is not wise, but he is skilled in staying close to the throne, not through brilliance but through manipulation. Not by leading, but by clinging. He outlasts better men not because he is better, but because he never tries to be more than the image he projects. And sometimes that image is all that power really demands. So now you understand. It is not wisdom that rules the world. It is the illusion of it. The throne is rarely earned by the most thoughtful, nor the most virtuous, but by those who know how to seize it with confidence, cloak their ignorance in cunning, and speak not to truth, but to desire. The masses do not follow the wisest voice in the room, they follow the loudest. They do not reward the man who understands deeply, they reward the one who acts swiftly. The wise man hesitates out of principle, the fool charges ahead without one and is crowned for it. Institutions, bound by their fear of disruption, elevate the loyal fool over the honest genius. And the cunning fool, he masters the game not by intellect but by instinct. He survives not by knowing but by pretending. This is the harsh law of power, seen not only in palaces and parliaments, but in every corner of human structure. Machiavelli saw it not as a flaw in mankind, but as its nature. And if you still wonder how fools rise while the wise fall silent, look not to the system alone. Look at the stage, the audience, and the applause. Because power has never belonged to the one who knows best. It has always belonged to the one who knows how to be believed.